On today's episode, the man with the most to prove in the Summer League for the Wizards, it was Jamir Watkins, and he certainly earned his spot. Let's talk about it on Lockdown Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, this is Locked On Wizards, where you're a part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, it is your team every day. Alongside DC Sports content creating savant and credentialed media member for the Washington Wizards, that's Abdullah Ayubi. Check him out on Instagram, the DMV Sports Zone page. I'm Ben Strober. I cover all things DC Sports for 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Strober Media. Real quick, today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. A lot to get to in today's edition of Locked On Wizards. We'll tease a special guest that we have coming on for tomorrow's show, so be sure to stick around for that later on. But first order of business, Marcus Smart was bought out yesterday by the organization. He signed a contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll touch on that, what he means. And the Wizards additionally waived Blake Wesley as well, who came over as part of the Kelly Olynyk trade just a couple of weeks ago. So the team is now down to the 15 standard contract maximum that we would see throughout the regular season. But a man that's on a two-way contract for this upcoming season, the second-round pick, Jamir Watkins. What a performance he had in Washington's win over New York in the final Summer League contest. The Wizards finished 2-3 in the Summer League, but Jamir Watkins, a real bright spot, led the team in the final contest against the Knicks. Sorry, he was second in scoring with 23, went 4 of 11 from beyond the arc, so super high volume of three-point shots. That's something we'll touch on, but just another excellent performance for him defensively, amassing another 6 steals to go along with that. He's a guy that has proven to me that he belongs on the NBA floor, and because he's on the two-way contract, he is only able to play in a maximum of 50 games. The same thing applies for Tristan Vucevic and Jalen Martin. At this point, Abdullah, I think he's a guy that should play every night for this Wizards team.
Definitely, Ben, averaging 3.8 steals per game through 5 games. It doesn't matter if it's a Summer League or G League, NBA. That's really, really impressive from the second-round pick from Florida State. Nearly 7-foot wingspan. You just put all that together. Offensively, I think he's only going to get better, but defensively, I need to see him every night, especially if the Wizards want to compete every game. A guy like him will get on the floor, dive for loose balls, and again, 5 steals, 8 steals. I mean, that is incredible coming from a guy who has so much to prove. A lot of people questioning the second-round pick because, again, there was ideas of let's draft a big man. We didn't go big man with our first-round pick. We didn't go big man with the second first-round pick, but we go with the guy in Jamir Watkins, who 7-foot wingspan, like I mentioned, the guy that can go out there and just take over a game to lock down defensively, pick up 94 feet. I know, like you mentioned, we only see 50 games at a two-way contract players. Maybe he could be upgraded. We saw that last year with Justin Champagnie, but I want to see him play game 1 to game 82 because defensively, we need as much firepower as we can get.
Absolutely, and I take a lot into the stat. So this is the way it's coined now. Steals and blocks combined as stocks. I want to invest in that, to be honest, for Jamir Watkins, because 10 of them, 10 stocks, in one of the games he had in this Summer League, simply absurd. He finished the Summer League averaging 4 steals per game. That was good for the best in all of the NBA Summer League. Right behind him, or tied, I should say, for the lead in steals in the Summer League, Keyshawn George averaged 4 per game in the 2 games that he played. So the Wizards were all over the place defensively throughout this Summer League in terms of their markings on the leaderboard. Alex Sarr, 5.5 blocks per game. And, of course, that's brought up a significant amount because of the 8-block performance against Brooklyn in the second game. But there's a lot of good things that you've seen defensively about Jamir Watkins. One thing I wanted to touch on was him offensively. And you heard me say it a couple minutes ago, 4 for 11 from beyond the arc. And that's something that the Wizards are going to have to mold to be part of his game, his ability to get his shot off and catch and shoot opportunities and be effective at knocking them down. And so far throughout the Summer League, he has struggled a little bit at that. But one thing I did notice going back and looking at the game logs from his time at Florida State, he never was a high volume 3-point shot guy. The most he ever took in his career at Florida State was 8 in a game. And he took on average 7 per game throughout the summer league and then 11 in that final game. And albeit more of an offensive role for him in those kind of games because they don't have a lot of other guys playing other than Dillon Jones, who had a pretty nice showing in the final summer league outing there. But I really wonder if this was all strategic from the coaching staff here for Jamir Watkins. They told him, we need you to go out there and take as many 3-point opportunities as you can because that's the kind of role that you're going to carve yourself out for in the NBA here. And I don't know if maybe you go out there and get him a high volume of attempts, whether he's playing games with the Go-Go, because he's going to play games with the Capital City Go-Go as it stands right now. It can only play in 50 games in the regular season. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of balance that out. Does he play games early on, or do they wait until later in the season and kind of have him just ride it out and finish the season? But he's a guy to me that would provide them good enough minutes just because what he does defensively, reading passing lanes, disrupting the offensive flow and system of the opponent. He's a guy that they could really utilize, not because obviously they're going to win a lot of games next year, but a guy like him on the floor, providing what he does defensively, contribute to a couple steals, a block or two. And then even if he puts up 6 to 10 points per game coming off the bench in around 15 minutes of play, that'd be a really solid contribution for him. I just wonder if we're going to see that 3-point shot develop the way they've tried to do so here in the summer league with a high volume of attempts.
He averaged 18 points per game in college. So the guy wasn't a scrub offensively in college, but like you mentioned, the 3-point position of him being a guy that can only shoot it from 3. Maybe he can expand on his offensive bag. We'll just have to see. But if he's doing one thing right, it's playing defense. Keep putting him out there. If you're good at one thing, keep going at it. Because, again, defensively, the Wizards have been so lackluster these past couple of years. And just ever since they got rid of John Wall, we just didn't have a guy or just a defensive anchor team. And it was frustrating to see teams like the Indiana Pacers, which I get they just went to the NBA Finals, but last year put up 160 points a game, blown out by 50 points at home. We don't want to see that anymore. And I feel like guys like Jamir Watkins are going to be the ones that are making more close games or those blowout games more competitive by getting a steal or two that you wouldn't have got seasons prior. So I can't wait to see his rotation, how he fits in the rotation here in DC. And I really hope Coach Keefe gives him those minutes. The whole two-way thing may limit him, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on the Capital City Go-Go because the Capital City Go-Go does a great job of developing players. Like I mentioned, Justin Champagnie, Jordan Goodwin, Isaiah Todd at one point when I was watching the Wizards, he was the guy that I liked from the Capital City Go-Go. So development right there, I'm not worried about because they've proven in the past that they can do their job. So I can't wait to see how Jamir Watkins does his first rookie year.
Yeah, that's one thing that they have done well with the Go-Go is develop guys. So maybe it would be something that's beneficial for Watkins, especially because the one thing we're concerned about is his ability to get off those catch and shoot opportunities. He started off pretty strong against New York. He knocked down his first 2 shots from outside and then really cooled off from there. Eventually, finished the game missing 8 of his last 10, I believe at that point, or 7 of his last 9. Actually, I can't do math, but the bottom line is with Jamir Watkins, he's a guy that is going to be a work in progress offensively, but he just showed me so much because what he's able to do on the defensive side of the basketball, that he's a guy that will get plenty of minutes for this Wizards team when they are able to elevate him up for parts of the season to play in games. And maybe we do see some more movement because Corey Kispert, you and I have talked a lot about, has he played his last game in Washington or not? You and I both seem to think he has, but that's probably a move that would come a little bit later on as we get a little bit closer to the season. And it's tough to think about, Abdullah. There's not going to be any Wizards basketball for 3 months. And you and I are just going to have to keep on waiting for it to happen. But if Kispert does eventually get traded away, depending on what the compensation is in return there, if the Wizards just get draft picks or whatever does happen with Corey Kispert there, does that leave the opportunity for either Vucevic or Jalen Martin or Jamir Watkins to get elevated to a standard contract to hit that 15 threshold? That'll be interesting to see.
At this point, you get what you can from Corey Kispert. I don't really care about a specific player that I would target. I just draft capital. We've seen in these past moves with Will Dawkins and company, they want to get as much draft capital as they can, and they'll use those second-round picks that they get. A lot of people claim they're useless, but they'll go out there and get a Cam Whitmore, or they'll make moves like trading for Marcus Smart and then eventually flipping him and getting Will Riley or more draft picks. So I don't mind what we get from Corey Kispert at this point. It's more about the youth movement, and he's older than all these young guys and just doesn't fit the timeline. And again, wasn't a Will Dawkins draft pick.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better myself there, Abdullah. Real quick, Marcus Smart was bought out yesterday. What does that mean going forward for the Wizards? We will talk about that next here on the program, Locked On Wizards. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. One of the things I noticed that was surprising about Monarch Money was just how much I was spending on groceries and buying food out. And ever since I got Monarch Money, I was able to budget and really create a plan for what I did going forward. And I have saved a whole lot of money since then. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Marcus Smart, no more in D.C. Washington agreed to contract buyouts with him and Blake Wesley, so that trims down the roster to 15 standard contracts as it is right now. And Abdul, my first thoughts, I was kind of like, dang, I thought Smart was going to be a guy I would be able to pull off a trade for, potentially get some draft capital in return, because I think of the veterans that this team had, he was on the more team-friendly deal that they could have had to move him. And he's a real asset to have on a contending team because of how great he is defensively. And he's kind of like what we just talked about in the last segment, that you hope Jamir Watkins could be a 3-and-D type player that is super impactful on playoff teams like Marcus Smart was for so long in Boston. And I think that's a great fit, like a glove out there in Los Angeles. Suddenly, maybe the reservations that you and I had about LeBron or Luka leaving the Lakers at this point, maybe those doubts are a little bit less. I don't know if that would really put them over the top out west there, but I do think Marcus Smart fits in pretty well with the Los Angeles Lakers. What do you think?
Yeah, so again, I was funny because we were talking about it. I don't know if DeAndre or Marcus Smart still makes you a contending team in the West, but that's a topic for a different day. Going back to the Wizards standpoint, I think it does suck. I loved Marcus Smart's aggression, and when he came to Washington as a vet, knowing that he was on a losing team, knowing that this team wasn't going to contend, he was still going out there providing 110% loose balls. This is what I want to see Jamir Watkins do, essentially, and him being a mentor for young guys like Bub Carrington, like AJ Johnson. But and also you can flip the coin and say, hey, Marcus Smart being on opens up reps for now AJ Johnson, now Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, CJ McCollum's going to have a heavy load potentially, and also he's going to be a mentor. So I can't wait to see how the Wizards manage this situation where Marcus Smart was essentially one of your best perimeter defenders. Now he's gone. You got Bilal Coulibaly back. I mean, hopefully he'll come back fully healthy and play a full season. But now you have Jamir Watkins in the rotation. Can he crack it? Trey Johnson, a lot of people are questioning his defensive ability, but with his size, I think there's definitely some promise there. Bub Carrington needs to be more aggressive offensively. So I can't wait to see the mentorship coming from CJ McCollum, because he's a guy who just was traded here from New Orleans, traded away from Jordan Poole, who had the keys here in DC, and now he's gone off to New Orleans. So I can't wait to see how Will Dawkins and this crew capitalize on this season. And losing a guy like Marcus Smart, it does suck. But at the end of the day, I always go back to the whole youth movement. It's all about the young guys now, and you're trying to make sure you maximize their efficiency come this year two of Keyshawn, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, and year one of Trey Johnson.
Yeah, and I kind of made the comment just a minute ago where I was saying it kind of stinks that we weren't able to trade him, get additional draft compensation in return for Marcus Smart. But if you really think back to every move that has happened since they acquired Marcus Smart from Memphis back in February, in return, they got that 2025 first-round pick, which was the 18th pick, turned that into Will Riley, who was picked at 21, and then they were able to get Jamir Watkins at number 43 because they traded back 3 spots. So you look, you got 2 players you think can make pretty good impact in the future, high upside guys out of Riley and Watkins, and then also additionally 2 future second-round picks. So it was not an all-for-nothing move for Marcus Smart. I think they actually really did get a lot to build on with acquiring him at the trade deadline last year. And of course, he came in here and he was a phenomenal mentor. He's a guy, if you want to preach defense to your organization, he was the guy to do it, because he set the standard, won a defensive player of the year and he kind of really standardized what is playing terrific on-ball defense on the perimeter in the modern day NBA. And hopefully everyone in the organization that was there to play with him for the final 20 or so games of the season got to pick up a lot from that. Another guy that was bought out as well yesterday, Blake Wesley. We knew it was coming between Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley that one of those guys would probably get bought out and waived at some point, and Wesley was the odd man out. So this does open up those opportunities, as you mentioned, for backup guard minutes behind Bub Carrington. I think this gives an opportunity for A.J. Johnson because I think coming into the summer league, even before that, a lot of people were saying, where's A.J. Johnson going to get his minutes with this team? Is he going to have enough of an opportunity to grow his game and develop as a former first-round pick? And now the answer seems pretty clear that he will get a much larger opportunity here because of the buyout that took place. And A.J. Johnson showed them some flashes throughout the summer league. He had a couple up and down performances, but the playmaking ability and the vision is one thing that we'd like to see him work on, improve on. And now there will be a much larger opportunity for him to do it at the professional level against, the top tier guys here in the NBA.
Yeah, and we saw flashes the second half of the season, but I want to see how he does in the first half of the season. Can he be that potential sixth man that I somewhat talk about at times? I mean, again, it's a lot of load for a young guy, but I think the potential, it's untapped. He's so freaking athletic. I think offensively, if he gets that shot better, he's going to be such a great threat because teams are going to come up on him and he can just go blow by him straight to the rim. He needs to get better at finishing. I think offensively, he's already there, and defensively, he can be such a menace, a great two-way player potentially. So we'll just have to see. And again, this Marcus Smart move opens up the gate for A.J. Johnson, and this is what Will Dawkins wants. I opened up opportunities for you. Can you go out there and capitalize? So I can't wait to see how A.J. Johnson comes in year two because, again, I think it's a steal that we got him for Kyle Kuzma because the way Kyle Kuzma's saga ended here in Washington, the fact that you get a gem, potentially gem, or I don't want to say gem, but an untapped potential A.J. Johnson, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, he's an example of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And Johnson is a big part of that equation. Another guy that is being thrown at the wall to see if he sticks or not is Dillon Jones. And after having a couple DNPs in the summer league, he did show out in the final contest of the summer league. He's a guy that right now has a safe spot, but that is probably subject to change. We'll see. But we'll talk about Dillon Jones and what we saw from him this summer league here when we come back on Locked On Wizards. Dillon Jones led all scorers against the Knicks in the final summer league contest, had 25 points in the win over the Knicks. And look at the shooting splits for him. 8 of 13, an efficient 61% from the field, including knocking down 2 of his 3 attempts from beyond the arc. Dillon Jones is the guy that's kind of got that wide body frame, but we haven't really seen what his role looks like in an NBA uniform because, one, he didn't really get any opportunities with the Thunder, and the team won 68 games last year, won the NBA championship. There wasn't really a spot for him in Oklahoma City. And even with the G League affiliate, didn't really get the opportunity to see him play in his actual role. I know the Thunder kind of had him playing in more of a wing style role where they just kind of had him spotting up a little bit, and they didn't really see him drive to the basket and look efficient the way he did in this last summer league game. I think he is effective at getting downhill and using his body to try to create space, especially around the rim. So I think he kind of got an unfair rap in Oklahoma City, and Sam Presti was willing to deal him to the Wizards because of some contract stuff. Colby Jones goes over there, and then they waive him. But now the Wizards maybe saw what was a little bit of potential there for Dillon Jones. And before the summer league, I would have said he's a guy that is not guaranteed to make this team. But after the moves of Wesley being bought out, Marcus Smart as well, I think Dillon Jones has a safe spot. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Wizards choose to utilize him. And if they do the way they were or the way they used him through the last couple games of the summer league here, I think he could provide you some quality minutes. They just have to kind of find out what role serves best for him. He's a former first-round pick from a year ago, obviously, and they traded 5 picks to trade up and get him. So
that's got to mean something, especially from Sam Presti, one of the most brilliant GMs in NBA history.
Saw something in him. What was it exactly? Well, the Wizards are maybe about to find out here, Abdullah.
Yeah, and I love how he attacked that last summer league game against the Knicks. Like you mentioned, 25 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 of 13 from field goal range, 2 of 3 from three-point land. Was really good at attacking the basket. And again, it goes back to taking advantage of your opportunities. None of the year 2 guys didn't play. Trey Johnson got shut down. It's my time to shine. I'm going to go out there and ball out. And again, Sam Presti believed in me so much. The team was just so good. I get shipped to a place in Washington where they're trying to find and establish a culture here. They traded for Cam Whitmore, and they think he can be really good. But I'm Dillon Jones, and I was a former first-round pick. I'm surrounded by former first-round picks. There's something here that's brewing here in D.C., and I think Dillon Jones can be part of it. I think if A.J. Johnson can step up, he could be a guy that can step up and be that backup point guard. So he is really, really talented as well. And again, it goes back to Sam Presti trading 5 second-round picks for the guy. I mean, that means something. He has some value there. And again, it didn't work out in OKC because I'll keep mentioning the surplus of talent that they have, but I think he can carve a role here in DC. We'll just have to see how it comes down to his rookie year. Will it be a situation, Jamir Watkins, where we won't see him till the second half of the season? Will he be battling in the G League? I don't know, but I have so much confidence in the capacity to go developing talent that even if he's there, he's going to get a lot of good reps. And come regular season time, if we're losing games by 20 points in the fourth quarter, put him out there. I can't wait to see how he does. And this year coming up, because again, we're still trying to figure out who can be that superstar here in Washington. Trey Johnson could be that guy, but then after the superstar, you need to find role players that are going to be here long term. That's essentially what Oklahoma City built, and they just won a championship.
Yeah, in Oklahoma City, 54 games played last year in his rookie season, only playing around 10 minutes per game, and that's a little bit generous. I think it's a little bit inflated because he did start 3 games last year in Oklahoma City, and just not a whole lot really on film for Dillon Jones throughout the last season. And the host of Locked On Thunder, I think, put it best. He said, didn't really see any flashes from him, but I don't know if that's necessarily his fault. I just don't think he was really given the opportunity to do so. And one thing that Ryan Stiles, he preached in his episode when Dillon Jones was still to Washington was he felt like it was a good opportunity for him because he's going somewhere where there's not really a whole lot of solidified players yet here in DC. Obviously, we're starting to get an idea of what our young core looks like, who might fit going forward, but there's still a lot of unproven pieces in this Wizards organization. I think Dillon Jones is a guy that should get more than 10 minutes per game. I think we'll have a much larger opportunity here with the Wizards, and I think maybe Dawkins in the front office saw something in him that they could utilize going forward, even if they do craft him into playing or being more of a role player for eventually when this team is on the up and up, hopefully a year from now or so. You could live with that if you start to get really quality minutes out of Dillon Jones on a team that already has a solidified starting lineup and its star players.
And I think that's the best part about Washington right now, Ben, is that you're a young guy coming into the situation where there's no expectations, there's no playoff expectations, no championship expectations yet. So you can go out there and just play basketball. And that's what Will Dawkins wants. I think that's the environment that he wants to build right now. And then a year from now is when, okay, now we got to see some progress. We want to see winning. And by then you'll see you have those key guys, those key court players, and you have those players that will come off the bench that can score and defend. So I can't wait to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, I just feel like this season upcoming, I'm looking forward to it so much because I want to see all the year 2 guys. I want to see the new additions, Cam Whitmore, Dillon Jones. How good do those guys look in a Wizard uniform? Because I put Cam Whitmore as high as number 3 in my list of the young core just because his per 36 minute mark, 22 points per game, is absolutely ridiculous stuff, what he's able to do offensively. Can he put it together on both ends of the floor? A lot of people give the rap for Cam Whitmore that he's kind of a black hole out there when he touches the basketball, but we'll see how he is in this team-oriented basketball role that he'd probably have here in DC because all the other young pieces and just how many minutes do we see from a lot of these guys, Dillon Jones included. There's a lot of time that we will have to wait before any of that happens, but it is exciting to think about that we're going to be, looking out for these things as the season goes on this year. Hopefully, seeing a competitive team for 82 games, even if it doesn't mean a lot of winning.
Let me ask you this, Ben. Do you think, because I know you mentioned you're really high on Cam Whitmore like I am, do you think he starts game 1 at the 4?
I don't think so.
Do you think Keyshawn takes that spot?
He probably does just because what he's done here already. I feel like obviously he's a guy that they drafted. They've seen him play here for a year. So I don't think Cam Whitmore would start. And I know we've already got a lot of comments from people saying Cam Whitmore is already the best player on this team. He could be. That does remain to be seen. But talent-wise, offensively, he might be the best scorer this team has right now. I don't know if they'd give him the nod to start right away because of what Keyshawn George has done, especially they've talked about him so much this offseason. They're like, wait till you see what Keyshawn's been working on. He's had the best spring. He's going to have the best summer. And the proof was in the pudding how great he was in the just 2 summer league games he played at both ends of the floor. Really good offensively in game number 1. Not as much in the second game, but great on defense nonetheless. So I don't know if they would give Whitmore the edge over George. And I know that probably upset a lot of people because I think we have a lot of Cam Whitmore truthers already that are part of the fan base. And I think that's a good thing. Like, he's going to be a super easy guy to root for to be great here. He's a guy who grew up going to Wizards games from the DMV, the pride and joy of Archbishop Spalding. He's going to be a lot of fun to see how his role increases as the season goes on. I think he probably starts out on the bench here in DC, but eventually works his way into the starting lineup if I had to guess. But that's just my take. I'm not the coach. I'm not the GM. So what do I really know?
No, I agree with you there. I think, again, Keyshawn here longer. You can't really just start a guy right off the bat. He has to earn his spot here in the nation's capital. I think Cam Whitmore is just going to do that. I think he's in a great situation here. Like you mentioned, grew up in the DMV area. And it's exciting. This is a guy that I wanted back in 2023. And the fact that you get him for 2 second-round picks, just another masterclass performance from Will Dawkins in the front office. But this starting 5, Ben, every night I'm thinking, now talking about the backcourt, since we have some time left, CJ McCollum, how do you balance the minutes with him and Trey? And do you put Bub purely at the 1? Like, is he ready for that position? Like, how do you think that's gonna pan out?
I think CJ starts at the 2 to start the season. I just don't see CJ McCollum coming off the bench for this team. And I think Trey Johnson will play a ton of minutes. He might play the 1 sometimes. I think that could be a high possibility. I think we've talked about AJ Johnson being a backup point guard. Him and Bub could duke it out for the 1 position. I don't know how they view Bub Carrington at this point, if they do think he is indeed fit to be the starting point guard, at least for this upcoming season. But Trey Johnson is going to get plenty of minutes. I'm not worried about that. It's just going to be interesting to see how they rotate it and if they do make any changes as the season goes on.
Yeah. Again, I'm excited for it. And I know this next episode coming up is going to be really exciting as well. So lots of content coming up here for Locked On Wizards.
Should we let everyone know who will be on the show tomorrow?
I don't know. I think we should keep it a secret. Keep it a secret.
All right, we'll keep it a surprise, but be on the lookout for tomorrow's episode. A very, very special guest that all of you are very familiar with. You can take a guess in the comments and see if anybody has any idea. It's not John Wall. It's not anything.
It's not
like
Bradley
that.
Beal either.
I will say that it's not a former player, but take a guess in the comments. But a very special guest will be on here to give some very incredible insight ahead of a long 3 months here before we have Wizards basketball again. So it's tough times for you and I, Abdullah.
So just hypothetically, because again, I got this question out of nowhere right to me. If we were to interview a former player, Ben, I know the easy answer is John Wall, but I don't know. I want to interview Marcin Gortat. That would be so cool.
So he'd be high up on my list for sure. Oh, I gotta think about this. Or like you're a longtime Wizard. Well, like Gilbert Arenas would be such an easy one because like he's a podcaster himself. Like he would be hilarious to get on a podcast, but I don't think that would ever happen. I'm trying to think who else.
For me, like Nene would be cool. Paul Pierce would be cool. His time here in DC at the end of his career. Jason Smith, that dude never missed a mid-range shot.
I'd love to get like a random role player. Like, what if we got Andre Miller or Ramon Sessions on
Garrett
the podcast?
Temple.
Oh Lord, Garrett Temple. Let's get Jan Vesely on the pod. Nah, people would probably
Andrew Nicholson, Jan Mahimi, man. Take me back to those times, man.
Ask Jan Mahimi what he did with all that money we gave him.
Yeah, that's a great way to start off the podcast.
What have you been doing with all that money they gave you for no reason?
Oh man, he's probably somewhere out there in France enjoying life.
Kevin Seraphin, you just reminded me.
Oh, that's a good one.
Drew
Gooden. I mean, he's part of the broadcasting team, but I love to talk to. Also, because he was part of that LeBron team in 2007, so that would be an interesting talking point too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, be on the lookout for tomorrow's episode. Very special guest. Going to be a good time. Let us know what you guys thought about Jamir Watkins throughout the Summer League. What does his role look like for this Wizards team this year? And Dillon Jones included. How do you see him shaping up as the regular season approaches? Long time to go before we have some Wizards basketball again, but Abdullah and I will be here to keep you company along the way on Locked On Wizards. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. For your second, find the Locked On NBA podcast where there is no off season. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For my co-host, Abdullah Ayubi, be sure to check him out, DMV Sports Zone on Instagram. I'm Ben Strober. You can check me out on Twitter at Ben Strober Media. We'll see you tomorrow for a very special edition of Locked On Wizards. Stick with us and go Wizards.